Hi guys, welcome to The Secret Life of Snakes. Today we're going to be doing an upload all about the pros and cons of corn snakes. Here to introduce this video I've got Nina, and she is an anathoristic scaleless corn snake. In at number 1, I've got hardiness. Now what I mean by hardiness is that they make really good beginner snakes. And the reason that they're good beginner snakes is because if you make mistakes like you would if you were a new beekeeper, they are quite hardy. They're going to adjust and adapt and be able to handle the fact that their humidity is not quite right or their heating is not quite right. And they're going to allow you the time that you need to be able to fix those problems. Now, it doesn't mean that you can indefinitely have these problems and keep making these mistakes. It means that you have to rectify them in order to not be cruel to your pet, but they're not going to keel over and die or become really sick within a few days. You're going to be able to sort it out, and ultimately they're going to be hardy enough to weather that storm whilst you are figuring things out for them. Number 2. They are incredibly cheap to feed and to look after. They only eat once a week as babies and once every 2 weeks as adults, and they eat mice and they stay on mice their whole lives. So they don't actually get big enough to progress onto rats or rabbits or anything else that you can think of. They literally stay on mice their whole life. And I'll just give you an example. For Nina, she's on fuzzies and she's on 7-gram fuzzies, but I bought a bag of 25 rodents the other day for £4.50, and that actually was a progressive bag, so it had a certain number of rodents in there that weigh 7 grams, it had a certain number that weigh 8, 9, 10. So I don't have to keep going back and buying more rodents of that weight, and ultimately the more bulk buys that you can do, the cheaper it is for you. They're also cheap to buy, so corn snakes have been around for a while, so you can pick these up as cheap as £15. It does depend on the morph that you get. Obviously the more recent morphs there are, the more pricey they're going to be. Nina, for example, she was £350, but in another sort of 5 years time that price is going to come right down, literally with morph types, and the more people that are breeding them, the cheaper they are. The less people that are breeding them, the more pricier. In at number 3, we have lifespan. These guys have an amazing lifespan. They can live anywhere between 15 and 20 years, and some obviously are the exception to that rule. And the reason that I've put this down as a pro, even though some people might think that this is a really, really big commitment, is because I don't actually like it when my pets die. And so the longer their lifespan is, the less likely it is that I'm going to be facing that anytime soon. In at number 4, I've got size. Now, these corn snakes don't grow very big. They grow quite long, so the maximum length is about 5 feet and the minimum length is about 3 feet. Now that's a general, because there's always exceptions to the rule, but in general they grow between 3 and 5 feet, and the males tend to be longer than the females. But in terms of girth, they don't get as big as a ball python would. So therefore, they are really, really manageable for one person to hold on their own. And this is generally why children get corn snakes as beginner reptile pets, because they are manageable for children as long as they're supervised. In at number 5, I've got the fact that they are docile. Now, this doesn't mean that they won't bite or they can't bite. It just means generally they're really good to handle and they're really good natured snakes. They're not going to nip you like a tree python would just because you've put your hand in the cage. Having said that, obviously there are exceptions, and you need to be able to read their body languages. If a snake is particularly distressed or moody, you need to be able to understand that that is the case by reading their body language and identifying those things. And with corn snakes, it's really easy. They're going to either flight away from you and try and get away from you. They're going to either push their body away from you, so they're going to sort of like move their body in waves to try and push you away as a defense mechanism. They're going to be like rattling their tail and hissing, and ultimately they can bite. But that's not their go-to straight away. Whereas a tree boa or a tree python, they're designed to catch their prey from flying birds in the sky and from being up high in the trees. And so therefore anything that goes in front of their face, they're going to instantly go for. And that's just the way that they are. And so corn snakes don't have that because they're not up in the trees, they've not got to catch their prey from the sky, and therefore they're just generally more handleable and more docile. In at number 6, they are really inquisitive. As you can see through watching this whole film, she's not really stayed still for very long. She's constantly moving, and I really like this because it means that it's not boring for me. When I get her out, I can play with her and I can really enjoy her weaving in and out of my fingers. So it's not something that I can sit down and chill with in front of the TV, and if that's the case, this probably isn't the right snake for you. But in general, I quite like the fact that she moves around a lot because it gives me something to look at. Number 7, there are so many different colours and patterns, and this is called morphs, and you might have heard me refer to this earlier. So I'm not going to list them off because there's probably more than I can list off in this whole entire film, and if I did try to do it, you would be bored to tears. So I'm just going to put a picture up of the main ones, and then you can go and research all of the different ones. But basically what it means is, if you don't like the dark colours like Nina, there will be a snake out there for you in the colours of your preference. So on to the cons. 1. Diet. Not everybody likes feeding mice. In actual fact, lots of people feel that this is wrong, but unfortunately snakes can't be vegan. They do eat mice. They can't eat pre-packed frozen meat from the store. They have to have mice. And unfortunately, if you can't do that, then again, this isn't the pet for you. Number 2, they're really common, and even though that's a really good thing from my point of view, if they're common, it means that you can get lots and lots of advice about them from lots of people, and if anything goes wrong, generally other people have had those same issues and can help you. But I've put it on the cons list because for a lot of people, they actually quite like to have something rare and different. Number 3, they need a reptile vet, and reptile vets can be really expensive compared to normal vets, and that's all I've got to say about that. You need a reptile vet. Number 4, they don't really like to be handled every day, 5 times a day. They're not like a dog or a cat, and you can't handle them when they shed or after they're fed. So if you want a pet that you can just grab anytime you like, again, a snake's probably not the best for you, even a corn snake. In at number 5, they can be quite scary to some people. I know that if you're watching this video, then you're obviously going to be into snakes, but unfortunately some friends and some family will actually refuse to come to your house if you have a snake. So that is something that you need to bear in mind, and perhaps before you purchase one, if it's really important that you're a bit of a social butterfly and you have people around all the time, that you actually ask people that come round to your house whether they would be okay with this. Number 6, they're a big commitment. Now this was on my pros list, but they're a big commitment in terms of their lifespan. And if you're an older person or you're a younger person and you're thinking about going to university, this probably isn't right for you because you've then got to think about who's going to look after my pet when I'm not around. Number 7, they move fast. Now I had this as a pro because I quite enjoy the fact that they're inquisitive and curious and move around a lot. But if you're a child or indeed an adult that just wants to sit and watch a movie with your pet, then obviously if they're moving around all of the time and you've got to constantly adjust yourself to make sure that you're supporting them, then this isn't going to be the right one for you. So I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give me a big thumbs up, like, subscribe and comment below, and I look forward to hearing from you soon. Bye for now.